Welcome back to Neurodivergent Leadership, where we talk about effective leadership and communication, especially in the STEM workplace. I'm Jeremy Doran, and I love to help great engineers become great managers and great leaders. Today, we're going to talk about AI because it affects pretty much everything that we do these days. It's everywhere. Every advertisement seems to talk about it. I would not be surprised if soap starts having AI capabilities. Every conference I speak at now has at least one entire track based solely on AI, and it's included in others. There's so much hype, myth, fear, and confusion around it. I know that I avoided using it for a long time, longer than most, but I have, through trial and error, figured out how it works for me. So I'm no expert, but I've given it a lot of thought, so I figured I'd share what I've learned and what I've learned from research as well as just trial and error. Many of you listening might have a lot more information than I do and or just different perspectives, and I want to hear all about it. Reach out to me on LinkedIn or send me an email, jdoran@neuroconvergentleadership.com, and tell me your thoughts. Heck, maybe we can even have an episode where I interview you or a few of you to give different views on the topic. I look forward to hearing your thoughts, so again, please talk to me. First of all, I'm going to start with the basics. AI is a tool, period. It's a revolutionary tool, perhaps, but it has the same function as all tools before it have had. It helps you accomplish tasks. Tasks may be producing a product, it may be producing a content like email or whatever. Like every tool, the way that it helps is by helping you complete that task either faster, cheaper, or better. Sometimes only one of those. Ideally, a tool can be used to do all three. Faster. One use where this comes up a lot is in schoolwork, both high school and college. A student may have a 10-page paper to write. They don't have enough time to write it, and they ask ChatGPT to write the first draft. It's pretty controversial. A lot of institutions don't like it, and they've come up with rules to fight against it. If they had to come up with rules to fight against it, it means that it's being used a lot, which means it must make things easier for students. Cheaper. There are a lot of times when tasks need to get done on a consistent basis, and the choices are to hire someone to do it, subcontract to a service provider, or get a new piece of software. In this case, AI, which is software that you already have. You just aren't using it to its full capacity yet, which as a side note is the case with every single piece of software that I own. I don't know if you've ever looked at all the things that Excel can do or a CRM. It's astounding what it's able to do, and I use a tiny fraction of it. Anyway, it's cheaper to use AI if it's something that AI is capable of doing. And better, many people use AI to write their content or to help them write their content, whether they're writing emails to a colleague and they're concerned that it might be too harsh, or they're writing a blog you want to optimize, or an article that needs to be edited for grammar, syntax, etc. So those are the three: better, faster, cheaper. But one other way that AI is useful, and as far as I can tell, it's unique from almost any other tool, is it helps people get started. When faced with a project that seems daunting or overwhelming, usually many of us will put it off. And once we get started, we're fine, but getting started is the struggle. And the struggle is real. So having ChatGPT or whatever you use to get a project started helps a lot of people get over that starting block. This is especially true in people who have ADHD. A number of my friends and colleagues struggle starting tasks, and getting started can feel next to impossible for them. Most of the ones I've talked to have found that having AI do the first draft of something, whether it's an article or a piece of code, even if that first draft is horrible, it's still enough to get them started. And once it's started, they have enough momentum to keep going and complete the task. Here are a few interesting statistics. Overall, about 45% of U.S. adults use AI at least weekly. Of course, that was a study from early in 2025, so I'm sure the data has changed. But for the sake of comparison, not surprisingly, people in tech fields use it 76% of the time, and 50% use it very frequently. Now, compare that to people in general with white-collar jobs, where their usage is 54% compared to 76, and the people who use it very frequently is only 27% compared to 50% for the tech users. However, in 2024, that same group was only using it frequently in 12% of the cases. So in 1 year, the people who use it frequently went from 12% to 27%. That is pretty astounding growth, and I suspect the growth is continuing. It's not leveling out. The average self-reported time savings of people who use AI is 2.25 hours per week, with 20% of people who use it a lot, let's call them super users, report having saved over 9 hours a week. Now, I said that there are 3 benefits: time, money, and quality. And the cost of using it is pretty negligible. A lot of people most, in fact, use the free version. And according to Claude, which is the AI that I use, the average American who does pay for AI spends $66 a month. Now, as long as the quality of the product is the same or better, that kind of time savings is pretty incredible, and you would think every boss in the world should be encouraging their employees to use it. In fact, 57% of employees say that they hide their usage from the boss. So they believe that admitting they use AI will make them look bad in some way. And from the other side, only 13% of workers have received AI training at work. So clearly that indicates the employers don't find enough value in employees using AI to invest in it and lean into it and teach them how to do it well. In some ways, using AI still feels kind of like cheating to a lot of us. The other stigma, which is related, is that using AI can be seen as taking the easy way out, also known as being lazy. You know who wasn't lazy? Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan was amazing. No one could come close to what he was able to accomplish, at least not on their own. But once someone was able to use steam-powered equipment, a very average person was able to beat him. So I can see both sides of the argument. I don't like letting people stop using their own minds and just rely on AI to do their thinking for them and their work for them. It seems like a very dangerous and slippery slope. But I'm also old enough to remember when calculators were frowned upon because people should be able to calculate things on their own. And now, sure enough, calculators have gone away, not because they're not used, but because everything that we use has a calculator built into it. When I listen to the story of Paul Bunyan, I will tell you I'm generally not rooting for the machine. I'm rooting for Paul. It's just kind of built into our culture, I think. But obviously, the machines are incredibly powerful and useful. So how people use AI, what's acceptable, what's applauded, what's frowned upon, it's going to be in a constant state of flux for now and for the foreseeable future. I don't know what the answers are. I certainly don't know what they're going to be going forward. The one thing that I do feel pretty strongly about is that it should be more transparent how people use it. That way people will stop having to wonder, and I hear this all the time, is this real or was this generated by AI? And they feel like if it was actually generated by AI when they thought that it was generated by a person, they feel like they're being cheated somehow. The other side of the same coin of being transparent is that people in authority, like bosses, teachers, they have to be realistic about how it's being used and put realistic rules around it that make sense. In business, yes, it makes sense to ensure that the output from AI is correct. And if people have used it, you will know that it can be tricky sometimes, and it seems like it's giving you facts, but it's not always correct. It's also important to know that information that we put into AI doesn't get shared with people that we don't want it to get shared with. For teachers, you want to make sure that students do understand the concepts and they're able to think for themselves. But giving a 0 on a final paper just because another piece of AI software says that there's a 26% chance that AI was used in the writing of this one seems a bit draconian and something probably needs to change. So in the interest of transparency, here's how I use it. I happen to use Claude, like I said, not because I think it's better than anything else, but it's the first one I was introduced to and I got comfortable with it. So to make things faster, for research, it is awesome. Whether I'm looking for a new grill or I'm trying to find statistics on a topic, AI can scan the web and find everything in seconds that it would have taken me hours to find. It's fantastic. Also, I write a weekly blog, an article, and it does take me quite a bit of time. In an attempt to save time, a super user that I know came up with this full 2-page prompt. There are some custom fields that I added in, but a lot of it was just to make it write well. She was convinced it could write my blog for me and save me a ton of time. I tried it, and I have to admit, the results were impressive. What it wrote was good. It was absolutely usable, but it wasn't really me. It wasn't really my voice. So I would go back and forth with it, and after multiple revisions would get it to where I wanted, but all told, it took me about just as much time. And I like writing. So what was happening was that I was handing off writing, which I like, to AI, and I was taking on the editing. And I hate editing. So for me, it just didn't make sense because it was making me do the things I don't want to do and taking away the things I do like to do and not ultimately saving me time. But if I wasn't so concerned with the exact final product, using the 80-20 rule, for instance, it would have been a huge time savings. As I said, the product was definitely usable. It just wasn't right for me. I'll admit I'm pretty controlling about my writing. I've written a book and it's currently being edited. It's going to be published this spring, so keep an eye out for that. I suspect the editor regrets taking me on as a client because she does her edits. I go through and look at every single one and I either approve them or make a comment of why I don't like her edit. I want my writing to sound like the way I speak, so I'm very, very particular about it. So for the book, I never used AI in the writing, and I have a human editor. But for blogs, I write it, again, as a human, but I do use Claude as an editor, and in that role, it's very useful. It saves me quite a bit of time, and it makes it a better product. So that brings us to better. It may not make it faster, but again, they are better. If I had to go through and do the editing myself after I wrote it, it wouldn't go well. I don't like it, so I'm going to start losing focus and just skip over things. Plus, I'm too close to it, so I can't see the flaws in my own writing because everything makes sense to me. It's able to pick up on grammar and syntax, and when I wrote something that won't make sense to anyone else. The other thing that it does to improve my writing is optimize it for SEO. So I'll write an article and I will come up with what I think is a great title, but I can tell you AI understands what Google wants in a title far better than I do. In terms of being cheaper, I'm not sure I save money directly by using AI, but we all know the saying, time is money. So if I save a few hours every week, I can either be spending that extra time working on important projects at work, or I can be using it to relax and spend time with friends and family. And that is priceless. So I apologize that this episode is longer than my normal solo episode. I did write it myself, and I never had Claude edit it. If I did, it probably would have been shorter. But I felt like this topic was being both talked about constantly, but also covertly. It feels like people were never quite revealing how they use it, what they use it for. And I think it's important to talk about how to use it and how to use it well. So I want to get my thoughts out there. But once again, They're only my thoughts, and I want to hear your thoughts. Does anything that I said resonate? Did anything make you mad? Am I just plain wrong about something, or is there an important topic that I missed? Again, reach out to me, LinkedIn, or email me, jdoran@neuroconversantleadership.com. I will be happy to share your thoughts on a future episode, or even have you on as a guest so you can share them yourself. And I look forward to that. Thanks again for listening, and let's talk again next week.